Hello everybody and welcome back to Olive Boy Pens, coming to you now from a place I've never recorded from before, my girlfriend Gabby's apartment in California. I'm here on vacation, went to the SF Pen Show, but that's not what I am here to talk to you about today. I'm here to talk to you about quite a wild pen. It is the ASC Pavarotti 3. ASC, a brand that I have bad-mouthed, but generally I actually don't have a lot of experience with. ASC stands for Armando Simone Club, Armando Simone being the original founder of Omas, being the, AS in Omas. But this brand is not Omas. They don't own the rights to that name, and they make some pens that look like Omas's, but they don't make Omas pens. They are part of the pen family, kind of the founding part of the pen family, so that includes now Oldwin, as well as a couple of other brands like Bexley and Conway Stewart and things such as that. And this pen was very graciously lent to me by my friend over on Instagram at Fun with Pens. She heard me trash talking the pen family in my Oldwin video and was like, hey, it'd be funny if you got an ASC pen to try out. So she's lent me this pen for a couple of months actually to get a really good idea of what I like and dislike about this pen and brand overall. This particular one is the Pavarotti 3, which is a kind of Omas Ogiva shaped pen. It's a limited edition of 70. This is number 63. And it's, of course, in the very famed Arco Verde material. This is quite a pricey pen, so again, I'm very thankful that it was lent to me by my dear friend to try out, and boy do I have some stuff to tell you guys about it. So, let's get right into it. Alrighty, so let's get a closer look at the ASC Pavarotti 3 in Arco Verde. First things first, folks, just look at that material. Of course, everybody knows it's crazy. So yeah, it's a, celluloid you can't get anywhere other than ASC anymore, unless you find, just kind of a loose rod, but it was all bought up by them a couple years ago when Omas went under. So they are the sole proprietors of this crazy material. This is a silver trimmed pen to kind of go with the cool green aspect. So it's some kind of silver plated. I do not know what kind, but I have complaints about it that I'll get to later. You have one little band down here. You've got the cap band, which if you look closely has the word Pavarotti and a bunch of just random music notes laser engraved onto the band. I'm not a huge fan of laser engraving, especially at this price point, but different tastes. I think it looks worse. I do like the roller clip on here, very Omas of them. I think it's nice if you were to put this in your pocket, which at the price point, I would guess you are not going to. The filling system on this pen is a captured converter. So you actually remove this. This is a blind cap. And you have this little twisty guy. I'm not going to do it right now because the pen is full. But I find it strange that there's no knurling or anything on the actual turning mechanism, which can be quite annoying when your hands are wet. If you're, for example, cleaning this pen, it does become quite slippery. It's also kind of hard to tell, where your ink level is at, if the pen is actually clean inside, because there's no ink window of any kind on this pen. With the captured converter type of system, I honestly just prefer a normal cartridge converter pen. This adds no semblance of value to me to have a harder to fill pen that's still just a converter. Underneath the cap here, you have probably the only reason this pen is tied to the name Pavarotti at all, which is just the fact that he made music, and this pen has a music nib, which, to be fair, is cool. It has 3 tines, it's a little softer than your average gold nib. It's made by Yovo, as far as I know, and it's pretty cool. The execution leaves a little bit to be desired, but it does have an ebonite feed, so it has that kind of inherent value. Other things you'll find underneath the cap, you got some threads here on a pretty long section, which is nice.
And then you have this weird band at the front of the grip, which is Pavarotti Edition 2018, in case you didn't know what pen you owned. I think that's a pretty tacky little detail, but different strokes for different folks. Then you have some more text, which is on the barrel. You have ASC Armando Simone Club, Pavarotti 3, number 63 of 70. It would be whatever number you had if you had one of these. Yeah, I mean, overall, in terms of the looks of this pen, I think it's almost there because it's almost an Omas Ogiva. It's pretty much the same shape. Yeah, it's just the details that they added to this are just, I don't know, they don't really add anything to the experience. They don't add anything to the looks. They just kind of cheapen it a little bit, especially because it's not even nice engraving. It's laser. Besides that, though, I mean, like, when you're copying off your friend's homework and they did a great job, you're probably going to do an okay job too. That being said, we'll give it a fair shake by writing with it, and you guys can draw your own conclusions from that. So let's get right into that. So this is the ASC Pavarotti 3 in Arco Verde with a music nib. And the ink I'm using today is Ferris Wheel Press Moss Park Green, which is one of my favorite greens. It looks really nice in this super inky nib. So yeah, this is a super wide writing pen. However, being that it has 3 tines, you can kind of get some inconsistency in the line sometimes where like one of the tines will skip, but the other 2 won't. Like you can see right there, especially as I put a little bit of pressure too. This is advertised as like semi-flexible. I'm not going to push it hard at all because it's not my pen. But you can get a little bit of line variation here, which is nice. It is a very soft nib, even if you don't get a lot of width out of the flex. But in terms of like how it actually feels and performs, it's very wet. And I feel like if it was any less wet, it would skip a lot because the middle tine is out of alignment with the other 2. And I understand that a music nib is a very hard thing to make and have usable all the time, but I don't know. It's kind of a disappointing thing to have. And I understand that this is not a new pen, but I've heard the same thing about many other people who have this pen and other modern music nibs of the like that aren't kind of custom made. Basically what I'm saying is that like there are things I don't like about this pen, and the nib on it is not good enough for me to overlook them. So that's kind of the deal. It's fun. It's not super practical. Not that that's ever really come into play for me. And yeah, because this is such a wet writing pen, it does actually bum me out that you can't ever see the ink level. I have other pens that I can't see the ink level on at all, but I either don't mind because I like the pen a lot or because the nib is pretty fine. And it has a big ink capacity, so it's just not something that comes up often. This, knowing it has a captive converter and this super inky music nib, would make me nervous if I was planning on using this pen as like an everyday pen. But luckily, I won't, even if it was fine. So that's all to be said about the writing. And let's get on over to my opinion, if you couldn't already kind of tell.
All right, so what do I think of this thing? This new pen that looks like old pen that is made out of old material, but it's new. I mean, I'll admit that I went into this with some kind of bias against ASC, not for any particular reason other than that I just don't like them. I find that their pens are very expensive and not very creative most of the time. And when they are creative, they do stuff that doesn't make any sense. Like make a pen with an aluminum feed that didn't write well. Or just generally their designs are derivative of a well-liked brand using a material that everyone likes. So it feels kind of lazy. And then the decisions that are made creatively, I usually think are bad. And that is everything that I have to say about this pen. It's a nice shape, it's made out of a nice material, and then everything past that is like, why'd you do that? Captured converter. I think it's a bad filling system. I think it's hard to clean, it's hard to fill, doesn't look nice, doesn't feel nice. Really has nothing going for it, except that it holds ink and doesn't really leak. There's a lot of text on this pen that doesn't need to be there. They could have just said ASC and then the limited edition number. They didn't need to spell out their whole name. No idea what this has to do with Pavarotti, just as a guy or an artist. I wonder if they, are using the proper rights to his name or whatever. I wonder what music notes are around the band. That might be maybe I'll ask my brother to just play the notes that are around this cap band. Yeah, the nib is a novelty. It is interesting in that respect alone, because it's not a very great writer and it's not very well tuned. In addition to that, the plating is coming off after only, 3 or 4 years of being in existence. And then, that band on the front of the grip section is so silly. It's gonna, every time it touches ink, it's gonna corrode a little bit. And that laser engraving is going to look worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So, listen, I get why people buy these pens. There are definitely redeeming factors to them. If you want an Arco pen in the year 2018 in this case, in the year 2022 in my case, this is kind of the only option you got, unless you want to spend like $2,000 on a real Omas. Which, given the chance, you should do it, because it's going to have a better nib, it's going to be a piston filler, or at very least a cartridge converter, and not this weird kind of halfway situation. But, for $800, an Arco Verde pen, if you really want that, that's where you got to go, you got to go to ASC. So, yeah, I don't know if this is even consumer advice, but it is a just okay pen for a great pen price. It should be a lot better for $800. But it's just the fact that it's Arco and just the fact that it's got the kind of cachet of that, plus, the novelty of a music nib. That's pretty much the only thing it has going for it. I would not buy this pen, if that was unclear from my review so far. And I'm wondering if any of you guys would consider it. It is clearly, ASC has done something right, no matter how much I disagree with them, in that people are buying their pens. They're always making something new. And they're just burning through those stocks of Arco. I don't know how much is left, but it kind of hurts a little bit every time I see they're releasing a new Arco pen, because I'm like, that could have been a nicer pen. And yeah, that's kind of where I stand on it. I'm curious to hear what you guys think. If you guys own any ASCs, if you think I'm blaspheming their name, I am. I'm doing it. Stop me. But until then, I appreciate you watching. It's been a pleasure, coming at you from California again. I've got some more videos lined up. Of course, I went to the San Francisco Pen Show, so I have like 4 new pens and 2 new nib grinds that I'm very excited to share with you all. Not sure if I'll do those individual videos or one big SF Pen Show video, but all that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you next time.